there's something terrifyingly powerful you're doing right now, without even realizing it. And it's not meditation, it's not journaling, and it's definitely not manifesting in the way TikTok told you to. It's your focus, not your effort, not your work ethic, just your focus. Because the truth is, your focus is the architect of your reality. It's not a metaphor, it's literal. What you focus on expands. What you ignore fades. And here's the catch. Most people are focusing on exactly what they don't want, and they're doing it with discipline. They focus on who hurt them. They focus on what's missing. They focus on how stuck they feel. And then they're surprised when life keeps handing them more of it. But there's a silent detail everyone keeps missing, a psychological blind spot that's been quietly steering the direction of your entire life. It's not just about thinking positive, that's too shallow. It's about understanding how your mind filters reality, and why that filter is probably sabotaging your growth without you even realizing. If you've ever felt like you're doing all the right things, but your life still feels like it's orbiting the same problems, this video might just punch you in the ego in the best way possible. Stick with this, because in a few minutes, you'll start seeing how the tiniest shifts in focus can bend your reality into something you actually want to live in. You're not seeing the world as it is. You're seeing the world as you are, and more specifically, through the lens of whatever you're most focused on. It's like walking around with a camera stuck to your forehead, permanently zoomed in on whatever you're emotionally hooked to. And the wild part? Most people never zoom out. Let's break this down. Your brain isn't some all-seeing oracle. It's a pattern-seeking missile with a limited battery. You have billions of bits of information coming at you every second. Sounds, colors, textures, smells, micro-expressions, inner thoughts, emails from that one person who still double spaces after a period. Your brain can't process all of that, so it filters, ruthlessly. And what does it keep? The stuff you're focused on, the stuff that matches your internal world, the stuff that confirms what you already believe to be true. So if you're secretly convinced that life is unfair, guess what your brain will highlight? Every missed opportunity, every person who got lucky, every slight inconvenience that feels personal, and your brain will go, "See? Told you." On the flip side, if your mind is focused on progress, even the tiniest signs of it, you start spotting moments you used to miss, a new opportunity that's hiding in a problem, a stranger's kindness you would have ignored, the fact that no, you didn't mess up everything today. You actually handled that one thing like a damn pro. This isn't just positive thinking fluff. This is neuroscience. It's called the reticular activating system, a small part of your brainstem that acts like a filter for your reality, and it listens to your focus like it's a playlist. Keep playing the same emotional song. I'm behind, I'm not good enough, I'm stuck, and your brain will start showing you the music video to match. But here's the funny twist most people never hear. You can hack this system, not by pretending bad stuff doesn't exist, but by redirecting your spotlight. You start telling your brain, hey, I'm more interested in solutions than drama. I'm more focused on progress than perfection. I care more about becoming than blaming. Suddenly your mental camera starts catching different angles. You're not changing reality, you're finally seeing the rest of it. And when that lens shifts, that's when your external world starts moving with you. So why do we keep focusing on what drags us down? Simple. It's addictive. Not in the fun way, like chocolate or binging your comfort YouTuber at 3 a.m., but in the quiet, self-sabotaging way that feels like control. Focusing on what's wrong gives your mind something to grip. And let's be real, feeling in control of something, even if it's your own suffering, is often easier than facing uncertainty. Because focusing on growth, that means facing your blind spots. That means admitting that maybe, just maybe, the narrative you've been clinging to isn't the full story. And the mind hates that. It would rather feed you emotional leftovers than cook something new. It would rather go back to familiar pain than explore unfamiliar peace. Because at least pain, doesn't surprise you. This is why so many people will say things like, "I just want peace," but then scroll into arguments, chase unavailable people, or replay old conversations that happened 2 years ago during a rainy Tuesday and still live rent-free in their heads. It's not because they're broken. It's because the mind doesn't serve peace by default. It serves familiarity, and what you repeatedly focus on becomes familiar, even if it's slowly draining you, even if it's costing you opportunities, relationships, joy. It's like planting weeds in your own garden and then wondering why you can't grow anything worth keeping. You have to train your focus like a muscle, because if you don't, the world will hijack it for you. The algorithm, the news cycle, the one person whose validation you're still secretly waiting for. They're all competing for your mental screen time. And if you don't start choosing what gets your energy, you'll spend your whole life feeling exhausted by what you didn't choose, but kept consuming anyway. So when people ask, why does nothing ever change? The answer is usually quiet, subtle, uncomfortable, because you never changed what you were looking at. You never paused to ask, is this even worth my focus anymore? Or has it just become habit? Here's something no one really teaches you growing up. You are allowed to change what you focus on without asking for permission, without an apology, without waiting for things to get so bad that you're forced to. But most people only shift their focus after hitting some emotional rock bottom. They wait until burnout becomes their lifestyle, until anxiety is just part of the daily routine, until the weight of everything they're carrying finally makes them collapse. Then, and only then, they start wondering, maybe I shouldn't be focusing on everything at once. But what if you didn't wait that long? What if you started now, training your focus the way you train your body or your diet or your standards? Not by doing something dramatic, but by choosing what you don't feed. That one thought you always run back to when things feel uncertain? Starve it. That emotional spiral you ride every time someone disappoints you? Starve it. That internal voice that says, you're behind, you're not enough, you'll never get it right? Starve it. And instead, even if it feels weird at first, start feeding what feels light. Even if it's just a 1% shift, even if it doesn't fix anything instantly. Because that tiny shift in what you give attention to, that's not fluff, that's compound interest for your mind. You focus on what builds you, even in small doses. You start attracting things that align with that focus. Not magically, but mechanically. You start spotting better decisions. You walk away faster from what drains you. You hear the same criticism differently and respond with clarity instead of defense. You wake up one day and realize you're not haunted by the same stuff anymore. Not because the world got easier, but because your mind stopped being obsessed with what was wrong all the time. And let's be honest, when you finally shift your focus toward what you actually want to feel, what you want to create, what you want to become, that's when the needle moves. Not because you tried harder, but because you stopped watering what you secretly hated. Here's where it gets personal, because this isn't just about mindset. This is about your identity, the version of you keep reinforcing every single day without realizing it. Focus isn't just shaping your reality, it's shaping who you think you are. If you spend every day focused on your mistakes, your flaws, your shortcomings, you start believing that's all you are. And not because it's true, but because it's all you're paying attention to. The mind is loyal, too loyal. It'll keep showing you the same version of yourself if that's what you keep asking for with your focus. But that version of you, the tired, anxious, constantly doubting version, might just be a reflection of your most practiced thoughts, not your truth. And when that hits you, it's a little uncomfortable, because you realize you've been arguing for your limitations with the kind of passion most people reserve for their dreams. You've been building a home in your pain and calling it personality. You've been focusing so hard on surviving that you forgot to ask, am I even living a life I recognize? But here's the wild part. You don't need to overhaul your entire mindset overnight. You don't need a vision board or a 7-step plan. You just need to interrupt the pattern. When your mind starts going back to the familiar spiral, you say, "Not today. Today, I'm choosing to focus on the version of me who's moving forward." Even if they're crawling, even if they're confused, even if they've failed 18 times already, because at least that version isn't obsessed with staying in the same place just because it's familiar. And yeah, it'll feel unnatural at first. It'll feel like you're faking it. But that's not lying. That's rewiring. It's showing your mind a new target to lock onto, a better filter, a stronger lens. You don't become powerful by thinking about being powerful. You become powerful by changing what your focus feeds on. Not drama, not fear, not imaginary arguments in the shower, but truth, stillness, direction. The mind will always wander. That's what it does. But training your focus is how you teach it to wander somewhere useful. Most people never realize how much energy they're bleeding out, not because life is too heavy, but because their focus is too scattered. It's like trying to read 5 books at once while answering texts, watching the news, replaying old arguments in your head, and still wondering why you feel overwhelmed before 10 a.m. And here's the twist. You might not even realize it's happening, because constant stimulation can feel productive. Scrolling through self-help, analyzing people's behavior, replaying what you should have said, it feels like movement, but it's not. It's noise dressed up as momentum. And all that noise is robbing you of your actual progress, because your life can't move in any real direction if your focus is in 12 places at once. Especially when most of those places don't even matter in the long run. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer distractions. You don't need to try harder. You need to stop feeding the emotional tabs running in the background of your mind like an overheating laptop. Focus isn't sexy. It's not loud or flashy. It's quiet, almost boring, but it's the single most underrated superpower you have. Because when your focus gets clean, your actions get clear. When your actions get clear, your life gets simple. And when your life gets simple, you finally get your energy back. You stop being emotionally exhausted by things that aren't even in your control. You stop checking for people who stop checking for you. You stop showing up in places that drain you just because your past self would have. That's the real shift. Not becoming someone new, but finally focusing on the version of you that's been buried under all the noise. And it starts with attention, not intention, not goals, just attention. What are you actually feeding with your thoughts every day? And is it helping you or just keeping you busy? There's something really underrated about choosing what you don't give your focus to. You don't always have to heal it. You don't always have to solve it. Sometimes you just stop feeding it. Not everything deserves closure. Not every thought deserves a deep dive. Not every emotion needs to be processed into a 10-slide Instagram post. Some things lose their power the moment you stop assigning them importance. That's what maturity looks like. Not reacting to everything that tugs at your energy. Just observing it, letting it pass, choosing not to make it your whole personality for the day. And here's the ironic part. When you stop giving so much attention to what's draining you, you finally have space to notice what's working. The things that used to feel invisible, your growth, your patience, your ability to say no, they start to shine a little brighter. Not because they changed, but because you actually made space to see them. Most people never get to that place. They stay stuck in a loop, constantly solving problems that don't need to be solved. They just need to be released. They chase validation, overanalyze silence, build stories out of shadows, and call it being self-aware. But real self-awareness isn't about overthinking your own misery. It's about realizing that where your focus goes, your identity grows. So if you keep focusing on who you were when you were hurt, don't be surprised when healing feels impossible, because you're not giving attention to the version of you that made it through, and that version is already here. You don't have to invent them. You just have to start looking in their direction. The shift isn't complicated. It's just uncomfortable, because it means you stop being the main character in your own drama, and start being the quiet architect of your peace. Focus like that, it doesn't come with applause, but it comes with freedom. So here's your quiet reminder. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to choose what gets your energy and what doesn't, because that's the true power. Not reacting to everything, not trying to control every outcome, but getting really intentional about what's allowed to stay in your mental space. Most people let their focus get hijacked by things that won't even matter next week. They'll spend hours mentally chasing situations they'll never get closure from, and then wonder why peace feels so far away. But you're not here to play that game anymore. You're here to make your focus expensive, to give your energy on purpose, not out of habit. And no, it won't be perfect. You'll slip, you'll overthink, you'll get sucked back in sometimes. But every time you return your focus to what actually builds you, you're rewiring something deeper than motivation. You're reclaiming your mind, quietly, powerfully, daily. Now, if you made it this far, you're different. Most people tap out when the algorithm doesn't throw dopamine at them every 6 seconds. But you stayed. Comment focused in the comments to let me know you're one of the focused few. And if this kind of content feels like a reset button for your mind, you already know what to do. Like, sub, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp and protect your peace like it's gold, because it is.